like kind of, what Social Snowball gained a lot of momentum for when we first launched, because this is like our whole marketing angle. And it was like our flagship feature, whatever, is like turn your customers into affiliates. And really what that developed into is like turn your audience into your most efficient marketing channel.
Right then, fellas, another sponsor for the pod is probably something you're very familiar with. If you're in the e-commerce space, it's certainly something I am. It's Wayflyer. Cash flow is the biggest killer of any fast-growing e-com brand, as I, probably more than most, know very fucking well. Go and watch episode 1 if you haven't already. Wayflyer is an e-commerce funding partner. Essentially, they can front you the cash for a month or so worth of sales. You need a minimum of 6 months sales, a minimum of 20 grand a month, I believe, right now. If you've got a brand that you're super, super passionate about, you want to scale it quick, but cash is a problem, to invest in inventory, mainly, marketing, overheads, team costs, whatever it is, you can get funded in as little as 2 to 3 days. It's literally that quick. No bullshit bank loans, no personal guarantees. I've worked with them personally in the past, took a 6-figure sum off them. Plenty of guys I know in my network and people that have been on the pod and run massively successful brands have also used them as a funding partner, because everyone knows at scale, cash flow is the biggest killer, even if you are profitable. If you think this could be a fit, potentially you could be a fit for them, then go click the link below. Speak to the guys at Wayflyer. It's a referral link, so we get a little fee, you save a little bit as well. Support the pod, support your business. Cash is king, especially in this market. Let's fucking go. Right then, back with another episode of the Midnight Pod. We're on a fucking roll. We have the second yank we've ever had on. Is that a disrespectful term, by the way?
I don't even know what that means.
Oh, right, it means American.
Oh,
but
well.
I think it's like a tongue-in-cheek, like, English term for an American. But second American on the pod.
I'll embrace it.
Noah Tucker, founder of Social Snowball, which is a SaaS, I guess, Shopify app and SaaS that I recently started using. I actually uninstalled it, then reinstalled it, and then I found out that we had like mutual connections on Twitter, which is basically where everyone seems to fucking know each other these days. And you've just moved to London.
Yes.
From America.
This is true.
With your girlfriend.
Yes.
Shit's getting real.
Getting
you
real.
signed a lease for a year or what?
Yeah, exactly.
In Pimlico. Good choice, by the way. Near to me, Southwest. So yeah, definitely going to get to know each other over the next few months, I suppose. And you join Gymbox as well.
Yep.
And keen to get running as well. So we are back on the wine, by the way, because last night's episode was fucking gin and it tastes like shit.
Oh, God.
So cheers to that.
Yeah.
And shout out Paul Weiber. Is it Paul Weiber? Paul Weiber from Jerry's, by the way. He gave me these cups. Pretty sick. I guess first question, as always, we'll dive into a million different things. It's basically, who the fuck are you? What do you do? What's your background? How old are you now, by the way?
23.
Oh shit, I thought you were older.
What are you?
I'm 26.
Oh, nice.
I'm getting old. Jack's 24. So yeah, I guess diving into where you came from, what you do, we can get into different things.
I mean, like from a business standpoint, my first ever like real venture was right out of high school. I got like super into the dropshipping world. So I guess this is like 2017.
Yeah.
I was working on a fishing boat at the time.
The
just
golden
like
age.
Yeah, different times for sure. I was working on a fishing boat at the time, just like trying to make money, doing anything I could, and fishing was like my passion, and it kind of still is, but haven't done it in a while. Yeah. And I just had some friends that were visiting, and they had like these really simple dropshipping stores selling like bikinis and rompers, like super simple stuff. Yeah. And I don't even think they knew what paid ads were. They were just posting on Instagram and DMing people and making a couple $100 a day doing it. And they showed me like this is the first time I ever saw like Shopify, or the back end of the interface. And they were like showing me like $200 a day just from like sitting, posting on Instagram all day. And I was like, if I can make $200 a day, like I will for sure quit this fishing job and dive all into this. Yeah. And I've always been like entrepreneurial, like selling stuff on eBay, like since I was like a little kid. So I was like, this is right up my alley. So I built a store, was just posting on Instagram and made like a few grand, nothing crazy. Then I went to University of Miami, and my freshman year during like the orientation, I met my now good friend Will, who happened to also be in the e-commerce world. And he was telling me like, hey, I've done like, cause I was showing him that like, look, like it's making $200 today. Like, isn't this crazy? And he was like, dude, I've made like over $1,000 a day on my store. And I was like, how is that even possible? And he was running like these, I don't even know if these are a thing anymore. Maybe they are, but like these Twitter ads that you would basically pay these people who owned a bunch of accounts for impressions, and they would like retweet your tweets until it hit a certain amount of impressions. So it was kind of like paid ads, but it was like through influencers, but a bit more organized than just like paying someone to post or retweet. And I basically tried that for a new store, and it popped off, and I was like, okay, like I'm onto
Had
something.
you discovered Facebook ads at this point? Oh no.
I didn't even know what that was.
Oh, shit.
I didn't even know what that was. Yeah, like that didn't even cross my radar at this
it's
point.
Like pure hustle spec.
Yeah, so, and ran up a store my freshman year, kind of like got into the world of dropshipping. Like that was my first like real success. I think I did like a 30K month, maybe like 10K profit. But as a freshman in college, like that was pretty crazy. And then, I mean, that's kind of just the beginning of it. Like after that, I just dove into the whole e-commerce world. I started like really getting into paid ads. Like obviously Facebook ads crossed my realm at some point. Got really into that. Started building stores. Did that for about 5 years. And building an affiliate program for these stores was like a pretty big part of any store I'd work with. So if I was like consulting for someone or building a store for myself, I'd always build like some sort of ambassador or affiliate program.
Yeah.
And to make like we could dive into this a lot more, but just to make a very long story short, I was very unhappy with the existing tools that existed in the Shopify app store to build an affiliate program. So that's kind of what ended up sparking the idea for Social Snowball, which is obviously what I'm working on now.
So did you finish university?
No, I actually only went for that first year, and then I dropped out before second year.
Yeah. Same with me, to be fair. I actually dropped out twice, but it feels like fucking ages ago now. I dropped out like 5 years ago nearly. That's mad.
That is a long time, yeah.
So the whole dropshipping thing, because I can relate to a lot of that. Like 2017 was like golden age looking back. It's like proper nostalgic. What scale did you get that to? And like...
it wasn't
like
honestly,
while you were in uni, like afterwards, obviously 5 years, quite a long time.
It wasn't anything too crazy. Like, I mean, I've definitely seen people do numbers way bigger than this. I'd say like our biggest months, and it was me and that guy Will, who I met my freshman year. We partnered up together, and we were like a powerhouse dream team. Like we complemented each other's skills and weaknesses perfectly.
Yeah.
So we ended up partnering up, living together for like 4 years in Miami.
Okay.
And I think like the biggest volume we did in revenue was like a 300K month.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously not bad, but...
Yeah, still bigger than 99.9% of people.
Yeah, but nothing like too parabolic. And also like we were just dropshipping products, so it wasn't anything we were like super passionate about, which is another huge reason that I ended up pivoting away from it, because like what I'm building now, I'm so like passionate about, and I wake up so excited.
Did you ever think about getting into like building a brand? Because that was the progression for me and like most people I'm now good mates with.
Yeah, actually we did, and we pursued one pretty...
SaaS is like similar but very different.
Oh, it's not even similar. It's a whole different world. But yeah, we did actually want to build a brand where like, okay, like we obviously have good marketing skills. Like we should actually build something real with this. So we were gonna build a nootropic supplement brand. Yeah. Not as cool as this one though, but it was called Rubik, and it was basically just like these pills you take. And my business partner Will is like super into like health and nutrition, so he like formulated it. We found like a manufacturer in Georgia that would like bottle it for us and everything. And we placed an order for like a few thousand units. We built like a website and some funnels and made some ads, and we ran it for like a couple weeks, and we were just like, why are we even like, we don't even like what we're doing right now. Like we were just like, we just thought we had to build a brand, and then we like instead of like having a reason to build a brand, like finding something that actually was like solving a problem for us, or like something that was like important to us. Like we were just like, let's figure out a product to sell because we want to build a brand. And I'm like now a really firm believer that like the most successful brands are created to scratch your own itch. So like if you're really passionate about something, or you have a problem that you want solved, and you can create a product, whether it's a physical product or like a software product, it doesn't really make a difference. Those like, and then you build something that, and it works for you, and then you're like, wow, I want to share this with the world because I know other people are experiencing the same problems. Like that, in my opinion, is when the best brands are built. And I took the complete opposite approach to that. I was like, I want to build a brand, and I want to, build something huge. What should I sell? Okay, this seems like a cool product. I'm gonna, spend a ton of money formulating and building this, even though like I don't even know if this is actually what the market wants or what I would even want. So it was kind of a backwards approach at it.
Yeah, I think most people do that, to be honest. Like
probably.
That's kind of why, like, when I moved away from like the dropshipping space, like, I mean, I was doing like pretty mad numbers like 3-4 years ago, but then I was just like, this is like soul destroying, because I came into like Ecom. I originally had a brand, as in like my own custom products, blah, 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 before I ever did dropshipping. Then I was like, fuck, I need to make some like quick money, when it was like relatively easy. And then I went back to brand building. But then even then, like when I started my jewelry business, Midnight City, which was successful, I was never like that passionate about it. It was more just like, there's a clear opportunity here. Like jewelry is pretty, at the time, was like relatively low competition in the UK. It was kind of easy to start because it's not like not very complicated product. And then I was a bit more passionate about the whole neon thing. But then with this, I definitely feel like, it's the first time I've been like, I'm actually building something cool for me. And like the early reviews and like, on a custom formulation, like really good and stuff. So it's like, it actually works. People resonate with why I made it and like the problems it solves, etc., etc. So
right, and that's like the best motivation. It makes
the process more enjoyable anyway.
Yeah, it makes it more fun. I'm like
I genuinely care.
Yeah, exactly. And
I want to put my name to it. Do you know what I mean? Like my actual Instagram and I saw that. Yeah. My email is on the packaging for the first 8,000 units. I'm going to take it off after that because it's just going to get too much.
Yeah, that might be a bit messy, but
no, like, I mean, most people wouldn't do that because they just don't give a fuck.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, when you're building something that you're genuinely excited about and it's like really providing value to the world, it's like so exciting to see that actually come to life. And like, I'm like exactly what you're talking about with like the reviews, getting that feedback and being like, wow, people are legitimately enjoying something that I created.
That's alchemy of all this
That's
shit.
What's like, that's what really motivates me at least. That's what it's all like for.
Yeah, exactly. Cause like you can make money and you have to do that. And that's a good thing, but it's not going to be as fulfilling if you don't actually give a fuck.
Yeah.
And I think most people take probably too long to realize that.
I think you have to
do both at the same time.
I think at least for me, like the only way I was able to learn that I didn't want to chase money was by chasing money. Yeah. I don't think.
Yeah. Same.
I mean, maybe not everyone's like me, but like like if you're the same case, like it's hard. Everyone can tell you don't chase money, it won't fulfill you, it won't make you happy, whatever. I feel like that's like one of the few lessons in life that like you can't comprehend without experiencing. And like no matter how many times someone stands on stage at like some convention and says that, like if the people in the audience haven't experienced it firsthand, I don't even think it's fair to give it as advice anymore, because I think like the advice should be like, if you're really money motivated, which maybe not everyone is, but if you are, which is not a bad thing, chase it and make it, and then realize that that's not what you wanted, and then adjust accordingly. But it's hard to skip that step.
That is so true. Yeah, this is actually quite philosophical for like 10 minutes in. Normally we save this to like an hour. I remember actually just a distinct moment like 2.5 years ago when I was driving my green Audi R8 and I was like 23 or 4 at the time. And I just pulled over and wrote a note in my phone, like chase fulfilling things, not material things. Because I was like, wait a minute, why do I get no pleasure from driving this thing anymore? Even though it's like sick, but it's funny. That's like a really easy to understand example of kind of what you're saying. Yeah. And I completely fucking agree. Quick one, fellas. You probably heard a few months ago I dropped an ecom course, a very fucking guru of me, but it's not that, I promise you. 0 to 1, how to start a brand from scratch with no budget, some budget, a bit of budget. Take your idea from a bedroom to reality to potentially 7-8 figures in sales like I've done a few times, based on my 7 years of experience in the trenches and my current experience building my current brand, Space Goods. It's no bullshit, no frills. We've had like 75 people go through so far. Not a single person has asked for a refund. Plenty of people have actually built some seriously impressive shit. Covers every aspect of the business. Not just the front end stuff like most gurus on YouTube and Twitter are talking about, not just product, marketing, all that shit, but the real shit, the logistics, the back end, the supply chain, the customer service, the finances as well. This covers the whole spectrum, every part, 12 hours of video. If you're interested in scaling a brand 0 to 1, actually turning your idea finally into a reality, then click the link below, go check out Learn Real Commerce course and let me know what you think. I'd be glad to have you in there. Let's fucking go. Just going back briefly, because I like to try and like fucking figure out like a timeline in my head. So the whole fishing boat thing.
Yeah.
What's the crap with that? Was that like sea trawlers or what? I used to watch Deadliest Catch. I'm thinking of that.
No, I wish that would have been way more cool. It was like a party boat. So basically how it worked is like people could just, I guess they might have these in the UK, honestly, way too new here to even know, but people just pay to go fishing, and like it's a very like done for you service, so you don't need to bring a pole or bait or like anything that you would need to bring fishing. Like we obviously provide the boat, which is a big boat, like 80 feet or something, like a very big boat. We provide you the tackle, the bait, we cut it for you. It's like we'll put the bait on your hooks, we'll help you reel in the fish if you need it, we'll net them the fish out of the water for you, and like obviously fillet the fish and give you it to eat after. So it's like a very it's like fishing but like it's almost like glamping, like for camping, you know, like.
So it was like a tourist thing.
Yeah.
You weren't out like in -2, pulling in fucking.
Nah, that would be
like,
cooler though. I wish
cod.
I honestly should have just gone with that, and that would have been cooler for the podcast. But yeah, no, it was just like that. So I was the one like cutting the lines and like cutting the bait and baiting the hooks and like helping people reel in the fish. I was like the first mate on the boat.
Was that just like a school job, or what? Was that just like a full-time thing?
No, it wasn't full-time. I mean, yeah, I was still in high school at the time, so I was working. I started working 4 days a week.
I thought it was some dramatic story where like you were fucking homeless, then you were fishing, and then you discovered Ecom while on the sea.
I should have gone with that too. That would have been better, but nah.
Much more romantic story.
It was actually over summer vacation, so I was able to work. I would work 4 days a week, and then it was 13-hour shifts though, so like really, really long shifts in the sun, like physical work, like sweating, like nasty. It would be like from 5 a.m. I would have to get to the dock, and I would leave at like 6 p.m. and just be like a zombie. And then I reduced it to 2 days a week because I literally was like not able to function during my days off because of how tired I was, and I was just like, why am I even doing this? And then once I discovered drop shipping, I was like not doing this anymore.
Yeah, fuck that. So when did you stop dropshipping and then start thinking about SaaS? And then I guess going into that story.
Yeah, I guess it was probably like, what, 2.5, 3 years ago now? Something like that. I mean, I just like, one, I was never enjoying dropshipping. It's a constant uphill battle. Like when something's an uphill battle, it's a red flag that you're not doing something great. So it's, you know, the payment processor is getting shut down. It's the Facebook like flagging your account or whatever they would do. Like it was just a lot of that. And it's just like, I wasn't even liking what I was doing. I wasn't passionate about it. That kept happening. And eventually, I think like one time the payment processor that I was using was like locking our money or whatever. And I was like, okay, this is the final straw. I am no longer doing this ever again. And I just stuck to it. Because I always would tell myself that. But it was like, it is pretty hard. Like when you're making like life-changing money, and it's hard to like turn that off. But when it's turned off for you, and then you have an option to do it again or not, that's like when I was like, okay, I'm drawing the line now. I'm not dropshipping again. Like I'm done with this. And I mean, we even like were doing things by the book at that, like as by the book as possible by that point. We weren't even dropshipping actually at that point. We literally like would send 6-figure wires to China, bulk ordering our product to a warehouse in Utah, and like we would have custom packaging, 2-day shipping across the US. It wasn't like we did what we could to like improve the customer experience so that all the like Facebook and payment processing things wouldn't keep happening, but somehow it did one last time, and I was just like, and we were almost out of our inventory. It's not like we had like hundreds of thousands sitting in a warehouse. We were like pretty much out at that point. We had to place a new order soon, and I was like, this is a sign, like I'm not doing this anymore. Like I wasn't happy with it, you know, all the reasons I explained before, and like that the payment processor shutting it down, I was like, okay, it's over now. And while like before this, I was already I was like in the idea phase of Social Snowball. It was actually me and a business partner originally, and it ended up not working out with him, and I had to buy him out, which is like a whole other story before we even launched. Like it was a disaster, and I could definitely dive into that. But so I was already working on another project that I was genuinely excited about. Plus the payment processor shut us down. Plus I wasn't even enjoying e-commerce anymore. I was like, okay, this is a sign. Dropshipping is over. I'm going full in on building this product and making it the best thing I possibly can, and learning from my mistakes from the previous businesses I was doing.
And the whole idea came from, you just couldn't find a solution for you previously? More
or less, yeah. So basically even that first store I told you about where I was like selling bikinis and rompers, just like posting on Instagram, the entire store was built around an affiliate, well, like an ambassador program, but essentially like an affiliate program and I was just doing everything manual. So I would literally DM people on Instagram that were like following similar accounts, and I'd be like, hey, we'd love to have you as an ambassador. And, you know, obviously we'd get them to sign up, and then I'd go into Shopify manually and make them a referral code for them to share with their friends, and I'd make them, you know, another code for them to purchase themselves. And it was just like horribly time consuming. Obviously there were apps that could have made that easier. I just didn't know about them at the time. So then obviously like once I started getting deeper in it, I started using those apps. And, you know, I mean, they obviously do things, like they're not like useless, but they were very, the interface, like specifically the customer facing interface of what your ambassadors / affiliates are going to be seeing was very outdated. So like it didn't really match with the branding of any site. The functionality that I wanted, which is like just a lot of automation and more configurability and customization, like very simple stuff, just didn't exist in any of the tools that I wanted, at least the non-enterprise ones. I know there's some like thousands of dollars a month one, but that wasn't like in the picture for me. And things were very non-automated, and things that should should have been automated in my opinion, that would actually have been very easy to automate, like not like anything crazy. They just weren't automated. So there was just so many manual processes that just it just seemed outdated. Like that's like the word that I always go to, like when I describe the whole experience with those tools. Like they just felt very outdated and nobody was updating them, and there was like a lot of specific reasons for it, but like that was the general vibe, was just like outdated. So I had to build these affiliate programs because they were crushing. So I would use those tools, and I would even actually set up my own like I you know Zapier, obviously, like the automation tool. So like I would like connect that to Klaviyo and connect it to Shopify and like be able to have some level of automation on top of using the tools, and even as a standalone. So almost like that, you could almost argue that that's like Social Snowball's very, very origin. I didn't even have the idea for it at the time. But yeah, I mean, after so much time like trying to build something that didn't exist, I was like, and also obviously throughout this entire experience, I built like a really solid network of e-commerce founders and operators, and I would talk to them obviously all the time. And it was like it was very agreed upon that the affiliate tools in the Shopify ecosystem were lacking, and people were pretty actively looking for something better. So after like it was a super like big issue for me, plus I got the concept that the problem was validated from all these other founders. I was like, okay, that was like the light bulb moment. I was like, okay, now like there's definitely something that should be built here, and like I'm already not loving what I'm doing with e-commerce. Like maybe I'll build something.
So when was that, when you went cold turkey, and like and how long was it between that and then actually launching?
Oh my god. Product? So going cold turkey, I mean, I went cold turkey on ecom like
it's like a drop shipping.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
All the drop shippers watching this shit thinking they're fucking Bill Gates.
Yeah,
you got a realization coming.
It's not even a real business. It's such a like. I mean, it is what it is. Like I obviously am guilty of doing it, and it's a good stepping stone into other things. But 100%. To answer your question, I went cold turkey on ecom the day that payment processor shut down. I was like, okay, this is the final straw. I went full in onto Social Snowball. Pretty much right after, because I mean, I had a nice amount of cash saved up, nothing crazy, but enough to at least get Social Snowball off the ground, like build out the product. So, I mean, I had no idea what I was doing when I was launching it. Like, I mean, even now I could argue I have no idea what I'm doing, but the amount.
Are you a coder / developer?
Not at all. So that's like a key. In fact, I'm extremely non-technical. My only background up to that point professionally was e-commerce marketing, which, you know, I was obviously pretty good at, but that doesn't really translate well into building a software product, which I thought it was going to be, but it wasn't. So, you know, I didn't know even what a technical co-founder was at the time. I didn't know that's how most startups, like that's like what a proper startup has, is like a marketing co-founder and a technical co-founder. This is very, very basic standard stuff that I just had never ever heard about. So, you know, I was like, okay, I need someone to build this for me. What am I going to do? So I found an agency, and they said they would do like a done for you. They would build like the website, all the UI UX, and the actual like functioning app. And I flew to LA to meet up with them. I like gave them a very, very detailed description. It's called like user stories of like how the app would function, like down to every little detail. Like what a user story is. It's like detailed to the point, like you click this button, this pops up saying this. When that happens, this is generated in Shopify, and this email is sent to that. You know, like every little detail. Pages and pages that I wrote out.
All the shit that I couldn't understand when I was in the Slack group saying, how do I change the fucking currency?
Yeah.
No, I was just being stupid.
No, that's my fault for not making it more clear. But wrote out all those briefs, gave it to them, and then they were like, okay, we can build an MVP, meaning minimum viable product, in 3 months. And I was like, oh, wonderful. So, you know, I paid them. They started building.
Did you have a budget, by the way, when you started this?
I didn't have a budget in mind. I mean, I was like, I'm so passionate about this, and like I'm so excited to build this that like I would be down to delete all of my savings to build it, and I did. Like I fully did. Like literally.
The one thing I hear about SaaS, we had a guy called Alex who sold his SaaS business to Adobe for massive money.
Oh wow!
On like episode 23, and the one thing he told me on and off camera was that it's fucking expensive to build a SaaS.
It is. And the agency...
Like way more than starting an ecom brand.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can start an ecom brand for nothing. And so the agency also quoted me a pretty low amount. It was $25K for everything, which is like, that should have been a red flag. But again, had no idea what I was doing. So like, how would I have known?
That does seem cheap, to be fair.
So they told me 3 months to build an MVP that would be like ready enough for the app store. Obviously there's always going to be like little improvements and stuff. So I was like, great. 3 months turned into legitimately 15 months.
Fucking
15 months of complete like just nothing was organized with them. Like it was just a disaster. They had some at the end of the 15 months. I actually ended up cutting the contract with them. It wasn't even done yet.
What did they say after 3 months? Given there was another 12.
They would. You know how it goes when you're working with someone that's like it's not going well. Like they always have like just one more month. This engineer like there's always some excuse. Like it wasn't. I don't think they were bullshitting me, but they were definitely just like making excuses and like whether they were valid excuses or not, it doesn't matter. Like they told me 3 months. It's not like it took 5, like 15, and it still had so many bugs that I couldn't submit it to the Shopify app store. So 15 months went by. I was like, I'm just done with this.
And this is the only thing you were working on?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
So I ended the contract with them. I still paid them the full amount because like they lost money for sure. Like there's no like the amount of time they had to put into it.
Were they just incompetent rather than like
I think so.
Intentionally bad?
Yes. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah,
so after the 15 months, I hired a very, very senior freelancer. Used to be like a senior engineer at Yahoo. Like this guy knew what he was doing, very comfortable with like the tech stack, like the coding language we were using. And I like kind of filled him in on the scenario. He was super expensive too, but I was like, I'm not going cheap anymore. Like I need someone to actually do this right. He came in within like legitimately 2 weeks, fixed every single bug, like cleaned everything up, fixed a ton of things that were broken that I didn't even know were broken. Like that would have probably broken once we had a bunch of users. Like really, this guy knew what he was doing. He made, and within 2 weeks of me hiring him, we had the app approved on the Shopify app store, like live.
How expensive was he?
$100 an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because honestly, tech stuff, like developer stuff, it's probably like the one skill area in life that I genuinely look and I think I just don't even know. If I was to try and do this myself, I just don't have a fucking clue. I
mean, you just have to learn it. Like, there's these like 3-month coding boot camps you could go. Anyone could go, and they like what to do. Like, you'd have a base that you could at least be like a freelancer. I just feel like even if I did that, it just my brain wouldn't click with that. It's just not. Yeah, it's not for me either. Like, I'm not gonna even try to learn it. Like some people are
fucking wizards that do. Even just like I can do like basic Shopify liquid edits or whatever, but.
It's just a different brain. Like I don't want to learn it because I'm good at other things, and I'd rather have other people that are great at that and love it do it. So it's like I'm not trying to learn it. But yeah, that's at least how we got the very, very bare minimum first product live in the Shopify App Store was that.
And when was that?
This was December 2019.
Oh, so about 2.5 years ago.
1.5.
2019 or 2020?
Oh, maybe 2020 then.
That's because 2019 is 2.5 years now.
Yeah. So 2020 then, yeah.
So 1.5 years.
Yeah, 2020. You're right. Yeah.
And what was the plan to? I guess like, did you have a plan in terms of this is like the business model from the start, or did that come about after you built it?
No,
in terms of like pricing, acquiring customers, all that sort of shit.
The business model, I definitely was something as a non-technical brain I was very focused on, from the very beginning. We've iterated the pricing actually quite a bit since we launched, just from trial and error, learning more about our ICP. It just makes a lot of sense, and just from getting feedback overall. But the original pricing model, I believe, was 3 different tiers. Each tier would take a flat fee just to use the app, plus a percentage of revenue that was generated through the app. So like if like Social Snowball, and okay, just because I haven't even said what Social Snowball does, I feel like I should probably cover that. It's basically just an affiliate marketing app. So like, any store that's selling, we're a Shopify app, so any store that's selling on Shopify can integrate with Social Snowball, and it'll let you build, scale, and automate an affiliate program for your online store. What's different about Social Snowball from other affiliate apps is most affiliate apps are outdated interface, very non-automated, all that stuff, but they're also very focused on publishers and influencers. So like an affiliate program traditionally is like very much focused towards like big influencers, publishers, that kind of thing. Social Snowball takes that affiliate model and democratizes it down to the consumer level. So we're very focused on like converting your customers and owned audiences into affiliates rather than just like the big affiliates or publishers and influencers. So it takes the affiliate model and just democratizes it for everyone to make it simple.
Yeah, because the only one I'd use or tried to use in the past is one called Reversion.
Oh yeah.
Are they big?
Oh, I mean, so Reversion is interesting.
That's probably the only one I can actually think of off the top of my head.
Yeah. So they're the biggest. They were the biggest, at least. I mean, and they might still be the biggest.
Even that app, Like I said I tried to use it in the past because like I used it but never really, like the interface was shit.
Yeah. That's what they're known
Everything
for.
was
I mean,
shit.
I don't want to come here and talk shit about a competitor, but I mean, it's definitely no secret that Reversion's interface is incredibly poor. That's, one thing I'll say.
Are they the market leader then?
So, I mean, the
think?
thing is, like, they've been around for a while. I think it was like 2010 since they launched. They haven't really updated the product much since. And also they got acquired like 5 years ago. And the business that acquired them, Assembly, I don't think they've really put much focus onto improving the product. So, I mean, again, I'm not here to talk shit about a competitor, but I will say a huge reason that Social Snowball exists was because of my frustration with Reversion.
Yeah, that's usually the best way, I think, to build anything. Kind of like you were saying before, like there's a reason to it. There's a personal reason.
Yeah.
So like business model wise,
right?
Did you plan from the start for the company to like be profitable? Because I mean, I'm speaking very ignorantly here about SaaS. Like I hear from other people that like, SaaS is only profitable when you get acquired and becomes economies of scale with a bigger business, etc. Like,
well, I mean,
how does that? What was the plan from the start? Was it obviously spend a bunch of money making it? Once it's made, almost treat it like an ecom brand? Is it like focus on a certain ROAS that breaks even and beyond? Because that's obviously how I'm approaching this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just interested how the mindset, having done ecom before as
well.
How did it compare?
It's funny that you say it like that, like find a good ROAS, because that is so exactly where my brain was like a year and a half ago when we first officially launched. Like I was like, oh, we have an app. People are going to download it and pay a monthly subscription.
Yeah.
And like if I could figure out like a profitable way to run ads, I was basically just thinking we'll growth market our way to the top. Like we'll just growth market like crazy and we'll run ads and we'll, partner with influencers and all this stuff, and we will just infinitely acquire users. And I was like, I have a leg up because I already know every influencer in the space. They'll do a post for me, which they did, and that actually did help a lot, to be fair.
It's probably how I'd originally heard of it, to be fair.
Yeah, but maybe that is. But I thought that was the end of it, and I also didn't realize, like, I also thought, like, after we launched this initial, MVP, the minimum viable product, I was like, all I need is like one part-time engineer to like fix bugs if they come up. Like the app is gonna be good. And like, wow, like I couldn't have been more wrong, which is okay. Like it's been like an incredible learning experience, and obviously we've pivoted that mindset significantly. But I mean, we learned quick that the small dropshipping stores are not really our best customer. I mean, we definitely have some dropshipping customers that crush with us. I mean, the ones that are doing high volume, like the level of automation that Social Snowball brings to an affiliate program, it definitely like will crush. But we learned that we provide more value to the bigger brands, and we also make more money off of the bigger brands. So there's no reason that we wouldn't focus all of our marketing and sales initiatives and even product initiatives, especially product initiatives, actually towards those bigger brands. So rather than just, trying to just run ads and make cool creatives and get customers, kind of like how the game was, at least for me, in ecom.
Yeah.
We, had that approach for a little while, and then we realized that the stores that were signing up were a lot of like really small dropshipping stores. They weren't sticking around. They would close down. Like, I mean, it was just small dropshipping stores.
They were shut down, just like you.
Yeah, there you go.
I did in the past.
There you go. Exactly. So we started, working with some bigger brands, and as we tried moving up market, at least it wasn't even successful the first time. We spoke to a lot of really big brands, and we learned that there's a lot on the product side, like functionality in the app, that we needed if we wanted to ever land these clients. So even though we had a few, and those few were making us a ton of money, and we were providing a ton of value to them, and it was like amazing relationship, we realized that if we wanted to get more like that, there's a lot that has to be built. So even though we were building features for the first, I'm talking about like the first 4 months, we were building features. It's not like we neglected the product, but we were like very marketing focused. And once I kind of realized that that's not what's going to scale this business, and that we need to make the app have a ton, like we need to increase the functionality, improve the UI UX. Like there's just so much that needed to be done on the product side if we wanted to acquire the users that we provide value to and we make more money off of. So once I realized that, we completely stopped spending on marketing, like zero. And we hired another engineer, and we just have been to this day. I mean, this is like over a year ago now. Wow. We've been like extremely product focused. So we are just building. And I mean, we've still been growing in revenue more so than user count, because the users that we acquire now are a lot bigger. So like acquiring one is the equivalent of acquiring like 80 of the users we used to be getting. But yeah, I mean, we've just been building and just focused a lot more on our brand and, you know, the product and partnerships. And we've been doing some initiatives to grow like partnerships and content marketing and stuff like that. And like just building a brand on social media has been huge for us too, especially Twitter. But we're not in the same mindset that we used to be, where we're just like, I'm going to build an app, like just like I build a product, like a physical product, and maybe that was the wrong approach to the product too, but that's at least what I was thinking as a dropshipper.
Have you ever run any like traditional paid media?
We have, yeah. We did for a while. We did for we spent like quite a bit on Facebook ads.
And does that work for SaaS?
I mean, that's a big statement. Yes, it works for SaaS. Yeah. For Social Snowball specifically, it's not that it won't work, because we probably will do paid ads again at some point, but it wasn't a very reliable. We would do it with a different strategy. Like we were kind of just thinking like we need every single Shopify store in the world to install. So we were just like running ads targeting like anyone with a store. And what we learned is just like the merchants we were acquiring were just not high quality. They would, you know, churn. The store would close down. They were just like small dropshipping stores. But I mean, growth marketing and paid ads does work for SaaS. It's just, you know, we learned through trial and error the ideal client for Social Snowball, and then had to adjust our efforts accordingly.
So how long does the average customer stay now? Or is these like too high value information?
No, I mean, it's.
But I mean, like say all the small dropshipping stores that you were maybe initially going for, compared to like, I guess like legitimate brands now. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
is there a big difference?
Absolutely. It's really cool, because like, I mean, the dropshipping stores, which I mean, obviously, you know, we'd love to have their business still, and that we do really crush it for a lot of, especially like the bigger ones. But, you know, like it's a lot of dropshipping stores are like just kind of catching trends, so they would come and go. Yeah. So those wouldn't stay on that long, often because they would close down, like not even from uninstalling, which is crazy. Like they would legitimately close down the store. But what's really cool, I mean, the bigger brands, to talk about like the LTV of them, they haven't uninstalled. Like obviously some have, but like most of the big brands that we've acquired, we do such a good job keeping them now. And I mean, I could definitely go in detail with like the initiatives we've taken to like reduce churn and like increase retention with these big users.
Slack group that messages people when they uninstall.
Oh yeah.
Just like I do, so I can figure out how to use it.
But
then I reinstalled, by the way. Go and install it. Link in bio.
But yeah, I mean, like we've only been around for a year and a half. So like most of the big users we've acquired have been around since they've installed and have not uninstalled. Obviously some have, because, you know, there's always like unpredictable things. But I mean, the LTV of these bigger stores that we're acquiring is, you know, so far infinite. So that's why we're, you know, doubling down on our efforts to acquire more of them. Yeah,
because LTV is a thing I spoke about on probably recorded last night, but also just something with it being a subscription product for the first time, at least first time for me. I'm trying to it's all about the LTV really, but that will present challenges when scaling in terms of like capital and cash potentially, because obviously, like, you know, you say CPA is 30 quid. Well, it's 30 quid right now, by the way, but say it gets to 100 quid because you're spending 20 grand a day on ads, you know, in a year's time, whatever, and monthly fee is 40 quid for my product. You know, say someone stays 10 months, 400 quid LTV potentially, then it's like a 4-to-1. But if they're only paying you, if you're only getting 40 quid of them in the first month, then you have a cash problem if you're scaling quickly.
Absolutely.
So has that been, because that's the SaaS like things I hear about. I mean, I'm definitely not in SaaS, but like people that are in that told me that's why you go down like the whole raising money route. Like SaaS often attracts like venture capital, private equity, all this sort of shit. Have you done that? Are you entirely self-funded? Is that something you've thought about? So
yeah, we've to talk about what you first said, like that is a huge thing. Like you need to, I mean, if you're a not venture-backed company, if you're fully bootstrapping, I'd say like you need to be able to make the cash back for an acquisition cost in like 3 months, or like you're gonna run out of cash. So let's say like the 3-month value of a subscription you're acquiring is like, let's just say like $100, and if you're spending $100 to acquire a customer, like that's like the peak, assuming you haven't raised. I mean, these big SaaS companies that raise a ton, like they're making it back in 2 years, no problem. Like you see Attentive giving out AirPods like it's candy on Halloween to every demo call they take, because they know their numbers and they know what they're going to pay for an acquisition, including those AirPod costs, and they can make that money back because Attentive is a great product. Like they're going to make the money back in 2 years, but they're so unbelievably funded that it doesn't matter if they make it back in 2 years. So, you know, they're doing it right, honestly. So to answer your other question, we did do a very small, I guess you could call it like a pre-seed or angel round. It was actually fully done, or almost fully done, from merchants who were using Social Snowball. A lot that switched from, you know, other legacy platforms. They liked the product so much they wanted to become more involved, and then it was all angels that did the round. Obviously, no venture funding. So
that's what I did for this.
Yeah, there you go.
I raised a bit of money and so on. And then, do you are you like cash? Are you profitable like day to day? Like, or is it a case of you got a runway, and if you want to scale, you need to raise again, etc., etc.? Because again, Alex, who sold Content Cow, who's one of my investors now, he spoke a lot about this. Like, that was the scariest thing about running a SaaS. I mean, his was very different to yours. I think it was cheaper for a start, but they were always looking to raise more money, which when you got a good product that's growing is definitely doable, but it was like required for them. Is that like the same for you? Or?
What you're describing is the venture treadmill. So once you start the venture treadmill.
I've not heard that term, but that makes sense.
Once you start the venture treadmill, you can't ever get off of it, because think of it like this. Like right now, we have 3 full-time at Social Snowball, like a few contractors that help with like marketing stuff, but 3 full-time, and we're hiring another right now. And you know, sure, yeah, we're profitable, but we're strategically reinvesting. We're being as not profitable as possible. You know, like we make our MRR increases, and then we make another hire. Like we're trying to reinvest everything we can into growth. Let's say, you know, hypothetically, we were to raise a seed round $4 million. Okay, great. What am I going to do with that money? I'm going to go deploy it, right? So I'm going to hire a director of partnerships. I'm going to hire a sales team. I'm going to hire 5 more engineers, a product owner, like all these essential roles to, you know, take it to the next level. That's what you're supposed to do with the capital you raise. But then let's say, you know, the economy crashes, as it like might be right now, like who even knows? And then you can't raise another round. Well, I don't have the same business that I did before that round. Right now, like we could continue coasting, and we will never, there's no treadmill we're on. There's no, running out of runway. Like we are bootstrapping essentially, even though we did do that like incredibly small angel round, we're bootstrapping. And we will continue to bootstrap. And, you know, if we make more money, you know, as MRR continues to increase, we'll make more hires, and it's a very sustainable way of running a business. But to go back to that hypothetical situation, we raise a bunch of venture cash, make all those hires. Now we're spending, you know, $150K a month. Let's say the economy crashes and we can't raise another round, or for whatever reason, our MRR doesn't increase to the target that we told investors we would hit, and they don't want to participate in our Series A. So what am I going to do? The business at that point would actually tank.
Sensible for 23.
It would actually tank. Yeah. It would legitimately tank.
You run out of money. Yeah.
So like, and you can't, you know, it's easy to say, oh, you know, I could just fire the new hires I made and then go back to bootstrapping. Once you get on the venture treadmill, it's not easy to do that. Like your business changes when you make hires that are like high level thinkers that are building things on their own. You can't just run that business again without those people. So it's really, if you're going on the venture treadmill, you're staying on it. And, you know, the ultimate goal is either an exit or IPO. If you bootstrap, you know, you could kind of just chill and continue growing, and if you have a bad month, like it's not, you know, it's not the end of the world. Like it's just you know, 2 different ways to build a business, but one of them puts you on a treadmill, the other doesn't. Not to saying that raising venture is bad. It's actually something I'm still considering very much, but it's just 2 very different ways of growing a business.
Yeah, interesting. Right then, fellas, quick one. First official sponsor for the Midnight Pod, Triple Whale. If you want to track your ecom metrics properly, all your KPIs, all your dashboards, all your blended ROAS, all that good shit in an easy to understand dashboard, as well as proper post iOS 14 pixel tracking. Know your real numbers, because I didn't in the past and I got it very wrong. Know where to spend more money, know where to spend less money, all the shit that's going to drive your brand forward. It's what I use every day in my new brands, in the past brands. It's what all the guys on the pod running super successful businesses use as well, and it's what you should be using. TripleWhale.com. Go click the link below, check it out, and use my link. Support the fucking pod. Let's go, boys. Right, usual wine top-up break. That all makes sense, and bench treadmill is definitely going to be a term that we're going to fucking use in the flight going forward. Just coming to like the day-to-day, you mentioned a few times, like what does the team specifically look like? I know you touched on it briefly, and I guess beyond that, like how is it structured? Obviously, you've just moved from overseas to London, so I'm assuming it's fully remote.
It's always been remote,
Yeah. So how does that look, like the full picture of the business?
Yeah, so
everyone else.
It's myself working like 6 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Always. It's we have a full-time customer success guy, so he does like everything customer facing. I mean, he does so much.
Is that the guy in the Slack group?
Yeah. That's Do Us. Yeah, he's
cool.
a gem, unbelievable. Like he's just super great. He's actually worked for a lot of other Shopify apps, so he was like a really important hire for us. Brought a lot of knowledge to the table.
Yeah.
Then we have one full-time engineer. He lives in Texas, really, really smart kid, pretty young guy, but one of those sleepers that's like still in college.
Yeah.
Really, really smart. We're hiring our second engineer right now, like actively interviewing, like probably within the next 2 weeks, we'll have that hired. And then besides that, I mean, it's everyone else is part-time or contractor. So we have like a head of content who does all of our blogs, all of our guest posting, all of our co-marketing partnerships. He aligns the partnerships. He manages like our partner directory and like everything partnerships and content related. And then just, a couple other freelancers to do like design work, to do like some business development work as well. And just like little tasks like that, social media management and stuff like that.
So like the whole developer stuff, like having like, is that a big requirement to like maintain stuff, or is that like building new features?
Oh my God, it's so much of both. I mean, I would say like my main job, which is not even what I want. Maybe I kind of like doing it, but I'm like a product manager. Like that is like what I do. I am, I am prioritizing new features to build. I am prioritizing bugs to fix. I am speaking with, our customer success guy. I'm speaking with some customers directly. I'm learning what people really want, what features matter most. I am, making sure that things are getting built on time. I'm making sure that things are getting tested before they're released. Obviously, we have like a whole process for all this stuff. So that's like what I spend a ton of time doing. And besides that, I'm just doing, anything that's administrative. A lot of tasks that maybe I shouldn't be doing still fall through the cracks, and like nobody else picks them up, so I'm still doing like random little things
in the trenches.
Yeah, it just happens. And obviously, like marketing, sales, I might have already said that, but yeah, that's like what I at least do mostly.
Yeah, because I was going to say next, like, what does your day-to-day look like? Because that's the question I get all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm never sure how to answer, but I imagine it's similar but different in SaaS. And I guess how has that changed as well since the pre-launch days when it was like pure trenches?
God, so much. I mean, it's mostly communication. Like so there's a couple of things. One, I'm still our only sales rep, so I take all those calls myself. So I limit those calls to only a few days a week, so I could have some days to just like do deep work. But like some days are literally like back-to-back demo and sales calls nonstop. And then like I'm doing a ton of communication. So even though the team is small, like maybe it's like, what is it, a total of 7, including part-time. There is just a lot of communication that's happening between me and them. Like there's calls, check-ins and stand-ups, and just like a lot that's going on. And I would say like between and then like I do like a lot of social media stuff. So like I am like managing the Twitter and scheduling posts, and I mean Twitter's been huge for us, so like we've been putting a lot more focus into that recently. And then I'm a product manager, so like I'm a QA engineer. I'm testing new feature releases. I'm writing very detailed user stories of what needs to be built. I'm writing feedback on what needs to be changed when a new feature is built. I'm making sure bugs that are affecting our bigger merchants are getting fixed before bugs that are, maybe affecting only one or two smaller ones. Like it's being a product manager in itself is probably a full-time job. That's what I spend a lot of time doing. And a QA engineer, quality assurance, for people who don't know what that means.
Is that like checking that shit's working?
It's testing. And we have like automated tests, like browser tests and like unit testing in the code as well. But it's basically just like, if a new feature is built, just to simplify it, a new feature is built, we release it to a staging environment, which is just like a test environment. We have to test that feature extremely, like a whole procedure for testing the feature, then test every other functionality of the app to make sure the feature didn't break any other part of the app, then test it with a ton of users, because it's different if there's one user, if there's like, or affiliates, like if there's like 10,000 affiliates in the account, we have to do all that. And then, it gets released to production, which is like the actual environment that like, Space Goods would, if you log in, like that's what you would see. It has to get tested again there, and the whole app has to get tested. So I'm not sitting there doing every test myself. I have, team members to help with that, but I'm in charge of all of that. So like that still falls into my lap.
Yeah. Have you found, I mean, I know you said some of the team is young. Are most of the team younger than you or older than you? Because I was going to say, like, I've always been shit at delegating and like hiring people. I'm trying to get better at it.
It's such an important
I always
skill.
had a massive element of like imposter syndrome, like almost felt bad telling people what to do.
Okay.
And, like, I'm now self-aware enough to know that. Like, I'm getting over that gradually. But like, have you found that? Because obviously you're fucking young, running a cool business.
I used to be really bad at it, and it's something that I've been like. It's something that didn't come naturally to me. Like some skills in this business came naturally to me, and that's just not one of them. I am now very, very organized with documentation, training material. I mean, like, so we use ClickUp. I'm like a huge...
Yeah, I use that. Yeah.
You use ClickUp?
I use it for myself, but no one else.
Oh my God, I love
like
ClickUp.
2 week sprints.
I'm like a verified ClickUp like ambassador now.
Isn't that like a $7 billion company now?
Yeah, they're huge. But my ClickUp profile... Not to flex on everyone, literally has a blue check next to it. Like that's that's how ClickUp hard I go. But yeah, I mean, like we are like in everything that needs to happen or is happening, or like anything that you can imagine is like a task in ClickUp or a document in ClickUp Docs. Like we have to be organized.
Do you do that for yourself and your team?
Yeah, I have my entire personal life organized in ClickUp and the entire business organized in ClickUp. Yeah, I couldn't live without it.
Podcast was on there, was it?
What's that?
Did you have to have this podcast on your ClickUp?
Yeah.
And then the dinner after, which you've had to cancel because you were too late.
Yeah. No, rescheduled, but yeah.
Yeah, fucking hell. I'm not very organized, but I'm trying to get better. Like Google Sheets is my thing.
No. You got to graduate from that.
Really?
Yeah. So what do you put in Google Sheets exactly?
So I have ClickUp for like shit that I need to do on like a basic level. Like I do like 2 week sprints, like key things that need to happen. But then even then I probably don't use it that well. Google Drive I've always used. I've got like 3 terabyte of shit in there now.
Well, for organizing like files and stuff.
And
like
it's how I operate everything. Like I've always split everything into 5 categories. And this is ever since I was doing like dropshipping and even before that. I have like product/brand. So like that's one folder. There's marketing, there's logistics, there's customer service, then there's admin. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like borderline autism, but I've always split my business, and broadly speaking, I think any startup ecom business should be split that way.
Yeah.
And then within that, like obviously certain ones, particularly the first 2, have more stuff in them. But yeah, for example, like one sheet I was working on today is like a KPI tracking thing, because in the past I was always kind of like Chad scaling. That's like a term I've heard on Twitter, like just fucking like scale whatever.
Yeah, just like increase the
whereas
budget.
Now it's like I have one SKU. I'm trying to be really analytical. Like we have it's ultimately e-commerce.
But
any
like,
online
couldn't
thing
you
is
use like
a
Triple
data
Whale
business.
for that or something? Like what do you?
I have Triple Whale as well.
Yeah, but what is a sheet doing that you can't accomplish with a tool?
Well, Triple Whale can't do like cash in bank, like shit like that.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm doing like KPIs about every element of the business.
Okay.
Like marketing KPIs, granted, yeah, I'm just like duplicating shit that's in Triple Whale. And Triple Whale is what I'll look at. And by the way, they're fucking sponsored the pod now.
Yeah.
So that's very relevant. That's the first thing I look at in the morning now, instead of a Shopify dashboard.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same for a lot of people, including the guys from Purdy and Fig, that brand that were on last night, which is probably a week before this. Because that's the fucking, like, obviously blended ROAS, like CAC, LTV, all this shit. But yeah, I'm trying to be more organized, and I guess Google Sheets is something I use.
I don't know. Well. I mean, I guess like cash in bank, that stuff, I still tend to believe there is probably a tool out there that could do this for you. How hands-on is like keeping all this stuff organized? Like, are you typing numbers in manually, or is there like at least like a
like
Zapier?
Once a month? Like, I mean, shit like Zapier. I'm not I'm not good at that shit.
Oh, it's so easy. It couldn't be easier.
I use Zapier already because the agency I work with have this fancy like fucking iOS 14 get around tracking thing which has Zapier, but I didn't set it up.
Okay.
I'm just not that like, I'm very chaotic. Like every fucking day I'll be like, I have like a list of like the key things I need to work on. I've just always had that list like on a physical piece of paper. But then within like 10 minutes of having my fucking rainbow dust and getting to my desk at 8 a.m, there's like 23 fucking tabs open.
Yeah.
Like literally. And I'm like, I try and work on like the more boring stuff first in a day. That's just genuinely how like my brain works. Like not boring, but like I guess boring, like more mentally taxing. I don't really want to like fucking dealing with a supplier, like, you know, shit like that. And then later on I'll be like, yes, we get to work on like the brand stuff now. This is fun. And I'll leave that to like the fucking evening. But yeah, where was I going with that? I mean, I guess I'm just not that organized, but I think there's kind of beauty in the chaos and it tends to work. At the end of the day, I get shit done. But how about you? Are you like super organized, or do you prefer to like just fucking go with the flow?
I'm like fake super organized. Like I want to be super organized. So like I would say a lot of my time spent now, I guess this could also be part of your other question, is like I spend so much time like organizing things and making sure that the team is following certain practices, because like I obviously want to build a foundation that can scale. And I mean, to each their own, and I know everyone runs a business differently. I don't think chaos scales. That's like my fear with it. Like chaos works when it's like a 1 or 2 man, 3 man, 4 man show. I don't think chaos can be a 10, 20, definitely not like 100 person company. I mean, like the big companies definitely have like very, very set procedures, best practices, systems, automations. So obviously Social Snowball isn't huge yet. Like, I mean, obviously I will be growing it a lot more. But I want to have a foundation in place that like can scale. And I think like, you know, when I used to make like simple hires back, you know, like assistants or VAs back in the Ecom days, it was, I mean, unorganized is like a compliment compared to like what I was doing. I mean, I wouldn't have any SOPs, any sort of like training material or like systems to follow or project management software. Like I didn't even know what that was. Like, so now that I have like project management software and I have systems and, you know, things are documented well, it's just like things are just a lot smoother. And I also used to like specifically in the hiring and like training, I used to assume that people would think the way I did, and I realized that they don't. And so I realized they can, though, if I write down what I want them to think, and then I would write it down, and then like people would like my employees would perform to a level I wanted. I was like, oh, okay, I just have to be very, very, very detailed with what I want them to do, not in like a, you know, a rude or obnoxious way. I just would make very clear documentation, and then results would happen, you know, because you can never clone yourself, but you could at least like you could at least write down your thought process on like how you should do something and why you're doing it and that kind of thing. So, you know, that was a very long answer to your question, but I'm working very hard towards becoming more organized, but I'm not there yet.
So do you use anything in particular other than ClickUp? I'm asking for me because I've always wondered this. Actually, do you know what I wonder often? Is as I'll fucking get an Amazon delivery, which is probably like literally 3 times a week. And I'm just, every time I get it, I think, and this is probably just because I'm fucking entrepreneurial, I always just like think about the inner workings of the business that I just bought from. And I'm like, how are they managing the stock for, like, because I've also just signed up for an Amazon seller account because I'm looking at potentially putting this on Amazon, but
which you absolutely should, and Walmart.
Well, I don't know about Walmart. I feel like brand values.
Okay, yeah,
but
fair enough.
Like the main thing I think is like, or the one thing I thought in this scenario was like, not about, oh, I just got the package. It was like, how many moving parts are going on to make sure that was like one click, and it's always one click and it's always on time. And I just think, fucking hell, like, you know, obviously organizations of that scale with, I don't know, 1 million plus employees probably.
Oh yeah.
Like there's levels to this shit. Like I'm trying to be organized. It's kind of mad. Like you actually think about the scale of like systems that have to work for any like massive business.
Yeah,
any big
it's
business,
crazy.
Particularly like those Goliaths, like Amazon or Apple.
Oh god, yeah. It's too much to wrap your head around.
And I'm just like, fuck. I thought I was doing all right, just trying to build this shit.
Yeah, it's a different level. It's like many levels above what either of us have ever done.
Yeah, it's crazy. What the fuck is this? Space Goods, spacegoods.com, Rainbow Dust version 1, my newest entrepreneurial ecom brand venture. I spent 6 months in the trenches building this shit from scratch. We launched 6 weeks ago. What's it all about? The next generation wellness brand with a long-term vision to essentially consumerize the pending psychedelic consumer goods market, which might sound absolutely ridiculous. We're not quite there yet. The market's massively illegal. But what is this? Rainbow Dust version 1 is an all-in-one mushroom and adaptogenic blend designed to unlock your supernatural self. Essentially, experience a sharper focus, sustained energy, zen-like calm throughout the day. It's an all-in-one powder, tastes like fucking hot chocolate, tastes delicious, works great, looks great, feels amazing. Essentially, the broader concept here was to legally imitate a psychedelic microdose and, like I said, experience those symptoms. You can mix it with anything, brownies, bake brownies with it, mix it with your coffee, have it without coffee, replace your coffee, put it into a protein shake. It's super fucking versatile, it tastes great, it replaced the stack of supplements I was previously taking, but you need to try this shit. It would definitely change the way you work, get you into that deep workflow. I obviously think that myself. Plenty of 1,000 plus first customers think the exact same shit. It's not just a pretty packaging, it actually works really fucking well. Keto, vegan, all that good shit. Trust me, you need to try it for yourself. Let's scale this shit to the moon. Spacegoods.com. Get on your Rainbow Dust subscription and see how you fucking feel. Let's do it for the boys. Spacegoods.com. Do you think, this is a question I normally ask later, but it's relevant. Like, do you have a specific goal for where you want to go with the business? Because like, I've met people that are always like, I want to build the biggest thing possible. And that's kind of like my mindset, but maybe it's wrong. But then there's other people I've met and they're like very successful, but they very intentionally are like, fuck building a £1 billion business, you know, hypothetically, because they just know they would never want to do that because the stress, scale, people. Like, do you have a specific goal for Social Snowball? And if you do, did you have that before it even launched?
I would say yes to both of those, but it's not a number. Honestly, my goal with Social Snowball is just to be, I want this to be a unanimous consensus amongst the e-commerce community. I want the answer to this question to be Social Snowball 10 out of 10 times. What is the affiliate marketing platform for e-commerce? If you walk to 10 random e-commerce people who have never met each other and they all say Social Snowball, that's my goal. Right now, realistically, you know, maybe I'm even being a bit generous. Maybe like 3 would say that or something. And I mean, you know, maybe more or less, I don't know. But I want us to be the affiliate marketing platform for e-commerce. I want that to be unanimous. I want it to be when someone's building a new store or whether they're migrating from another platform to Shopify. I mean, you know, we are going to be expanding to other platforms later, but at least with the product we have now, I want it to be like, this is what you do when you're ready to build, or at least like a customer referral program, like a owned audience affiliate program. Maybe not like if you're working with like publishers and, you know, review sites, but if you're like trying to convert your customers and owned audience into a customer acquisition channel, into a marketing channel, I don't want it to be like, which tool should I use? I want it to be like, Social Snowball is the best tool, period. So we're going to use it.
And does that not then mean that you'd be a massive business and make a fuckload of money? Or is that is that just like a side effect that you're not focused on, but you know would happen?
Well, I mean, obviously I want my business to make money, and money over just the lifestyle it could bring you is like a measurement of success in providing value as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm not like, you know, obviously I want to make money, like, of course. But I think like, I don't have like a money goal. I don't want to like, because I could pretend I do and be like, oh, like 100 million. I don't know. Like, I don't really have like
everyone says 100 mil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like 100 million sounds great. I don't not want 100 million, but what I want is for it to be just like so hands down unanimous. Like, Social Snowball is the affiliate platform for e-commerce.
Yeah, I definitely see that. Do you consider it a lifestyle business at this stage at all? Or, and I guess like,
that's a tough question.
Do you care about like balance between like life and because I know like some people are really big on this, and I think it's genuinely slightly older people in my experience, because maybe they've like been in the trenches for ages and like, I don't know, fucking they're like woke now and realize that life's not all about building businesses. But then you get people that are like, I just fucking love the game, and like all they want to do is be in the trenches, and I'm probably somewhere in between depending on what day of the week you ask me. Like, how do you see it? Like, are you all in on, I just want to fucking make that happen at the expense of everything else? Or like, I know, for example, you just moved to London with your girlfriend. Like, how much does that play into like the way you view the business?
It's really interesting.
Does that even make sense?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're asking. I know exactly what you're asking. And it's really interesting because today I tweeted, in the United States, and this is actually something my girlfriend's pointed out to me, and it's so spot on. In the United States, people live to work. In Europe, people work to live. And as far as the mindset, like as far as my stance on it, I'm still a bit undecided. I mean, so like
that's such a thought-provoking way to put it.
It's so true. It's so true. So like, here's a great example. Like, so I'm like huge WeWork guy. I live at WeWork. I'd sleep at WeWork. I am always at WeWork. I get so much done when I'm there. There's no distractions. I'm just locked in. I have my cup of coffee. I'm just like grind. But anyway, I obviously would always go to WeWork when I was living in the US. Like many cities I've been to WeWorks. And since I've been in London for the past, like, what has it been, like 3 weeks now, I've been going to WeWorks almost every day. And there's so many WeWorks here. It's awesome. But
do you have like a Globe membership? Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's like all access membership. Yeah. But basically what I've realized is like in the US, you know, if I was going to be working, let's say till like 8 p.m. one night, and, you know, I'm locked into my laptop and I look up and, you know, I'm in the co-working area, I see like a bunch of people sitting there grinding, like whatever. In London, I'll be working, and I'm working extra late in London because I still have calls in US time. So I'm working like the double shift here, like literally till 10, sometimes even 11. It's like a little bit too much, honestly, but I'll be working, not even that extreme. Like it'll be like 8 p.m. in the common space, and I'll look up, completely empty. There's not one person, really not even one. Like I'm literally the only person in WeWork after like 7 p.m. At 5 and 6, most people leave. 7, like everyone leaves.
I always thought London I always thought London was quite like a work, like always work, hustle culture.
It's not. I
definitely see like France, Spain, Italy being very different, having been there.
Well, even look
it's
at like.
It's interesting you say that, yeah, because maybe I'm so like dialed in that I think London is. I don't know. Yeah, just. I guess it depends which bubble you're in or who you look at. Yeah,
I mean, well, look at like all the pubs at 5 p.m.
There's a pub down there which you can see from our flat,
right,
on the balcony, and at 4 p.m. that was loaded today.
You can't even walk on the sidewalk next to it. And it's just full of people. And there's nothing wrong with this. I'm not looking down upon this at all. But it's everyone with their jobs, like in their offices. 5 p.m. they're at the pub with their backpack still on, with a beer, standing on the sidewalk, or you can't even fit in the pub because it's so crowded.
Yeah,
it's just a different culture. So I don't know, like, so here, like, to kind of circle back to your question, at least, like, I've been to Europe many times before today, so I've been exposed to both sides, probably more the living to work side because I've been in America more, but I've been exposed to both a lot. As far as like where I am right now, I think I'm definitely more in the live to work mindset right now, just because like I'm all for enjoying life. I definitely don't neglect it. Maybe I do a bit, but there's just a lot that I need to do right now.
I think this is such an interesting topic. You just opened up a can of worms with that point you made, because I completely agree with you. I'm probably on the same side as you, but like there's so many points I want to make on this, because I think the first point is, do you think that's UK versus US, or is that just actually the reality of like entrepreneur versus non-entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's that too. It's both.
I feel like, yeah, it's probably, in my opinion, it's more that. I mean, maybe I don't know the American work culture as much, but I've had so many people over the years, like, I don't know, fucking Instagram, people I used to go to uni with, used to work with, whatever, say like, you're young, just enjoy life. And then I'm like, and I've said this to Jack and like multiple other mates, and like, I do work a lot, and people would say I work a lot, but then I also reckon I party and travel and enjoy life more than literally anyone I know that isn't an entrepreneur. And then it's like, wait a minute, like, I'm confused on what your argument is. And like, and again, without sounding patronizing or whatever, like, these are people like X person who, I don't know, maybe goes to the pub 3 times a week, has not left the fucking United Kingdom in 5 years, telling me that I work too much because there's like seasons to it. I'll be in the trenches for whatever, a few months, and And by the way, I like what I do anyway, so it doesn't feel like work,
fun.
which
It's
I want
fun.
to.
Very much.
But then like I've got the freedom to fucking go away whenever I want because I'm not tied by location or time. There's not massive money restraints. Obviously within reason, I'm not fucking flying private to Mykonos yet. But like I've always had that element of freedom, and that's the greatest element of entrepreneurship, I think. Like ever since I was like 21, like fortunately. And yeah, I've always found it strange when people are like, you work too much, whatever. It's like, what? I also enjoy life probably more than you ever have or could. At least, you know, depending on what people enjoy. But then at the same time, like I would genuinely rather, like not every night of the week, like I try and take like Saturday night off, Sunday off. I'd rather fucking, and I don't know if you agree, but I would rather work on my shit because coming back to your point before, you're working on something meaningful. Like I would actually rather try and build this thing than like, I don't know, fucking go to the pub on a Wednesday. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just being self-aware and being like, what actually makes you tick?
Right.
Granted, a lot of entrepreneurship is fucking trenches and it's not always fun. But if it's like, if the foundation is actually something that you believe in, like beyond just making money, which again, you've said many times, it's so fucking important, then it doesn't feel like a grind anyway. Granted, a lot of it is, but like ultimately you're doing it because that's like fulfilling.
Yeah.
Like it's not like hard things are fulfilling if there's like meaning behind them.
I agree. I mean,
in my opinion,
I totally agree with everything you said. I also feel like, you know, I don't mean this exactly, but like I kind of like a bit of my mindset is like, I'll enjoy life later, like a little bit, like a piece of it. Cause I'm just like,
I agree with that as well.
I'm like young and like,
it's a very fine line.
Like, it's not that I don't want to enjoy life when I'm young. Again, I do a lot, like similar to how you, like, I could, you know, travel, like I have location freedom, like that whole thing, which I definitely take advantage of. I've been to probably more than 10 countries in the past 3 months, like very much taking advantage of it. Yeah. But at the same time, like the time is now. Like I have golden opportunities. I mean, really one right now, golden opportunity at my fingertips. It kind of is the one who works the hardest that wins. And like I'm in a very competitive space, a very hot competitive space. There's a ton of venture money around me. There's a ton of competitors. I have to grind, and it's not like I don't want to. Like you said, like when it's something that you're passionate about and it's meaningful to you, it's exciting and it's fun. But it's also like the time is now. Like the opportunity I have and what I've built so far, it's now that I've gotten to this point. Like I don't want to blow it, and like it feels like my responsibility to like go as hard as I possibly can at it. And it's like I just don't like. At the end of the day, I am doing what I want. Like I want to build this. This is what I want to do. Like I have freedom, and I'm making the choice to want to work on this, like maybe more than other people would want to work on something else. So yeah, I mean, there's a few different ways to look at it. I think like, you know, living to work, it can be toxic if you're not liking what you're doing. If you're working for someone else and you feel like you need to work overtime to like please them or something, then it's like, okay, then like that's going to make you miserable. But if you're building something that you genuinely are passionate about, and you know, work and life kind of blend at that point. It's it's all the same thing.
I think it's a completely different comparison and like conversation when it's, like you're saying, someone that potentially hates their job and just has to do it, you know, to fucking pay rent, whatever, compared to you've chosen to embark on as Elon Musk would say, chewing glass and staring into the abyss. Like the pursuit of entrepreneurship, that's like a famous quote or something, because that's how fucking hard it is. But yeah, it's interesting what you say, because I also agree. But I feel like up to this point in like my early 20s and shit, and the same with a lot of my very successful mates who I've lived with and currently live with and other mates, etc. I feel like I've got the balance it's a very fine line, but I think I've got the balance right. And there's an element of seasons to it. Like there's seasons where, you know, I had a fucking shit year last year, and I was still traveling and stuff, but like I was in a less good place because shit didn't go as well, and like stuff's going better now, a lot better. But at the same time, there's like times where, particularly in winter, I was like just fucking grinding to get this new thing off the ground. And now I'm like I've been back in the trenches a lot, but I enjoy the trenches. But then obviously like there's certain times a year where I'll fucking travel. Like I was in Brazil for 2 weeks, like 2 months ago. I was in Ibiza last month. I'm going Marbella in like 2 weeks with a bunch of guys. But that's like a hustle house. So that's like a lifestyle thing. So we're still going to be working, but it's like getting that balance right. It's like I wanted some sun, a bunch of other shit. Then we're going Bali in like July or August.
Nice.
Because I fucking love Bali. So there is a fine line, but it's about, I think it's just about like optimizing your fucking life to work for you. And like the benefit for me, and even like with this podcast, right? So I fucking love drinking red wine on this podcast and speaking to people, but now I actually get paid for it. And I meet people that can potentially definitely expand my mind and my network.
Yeah.
So that's like a fucking win-win. But it took me 7 months of fucking doing these episodes until we got a fucking sponsor.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's the shit that most people aren't willing to do. So that's just like one example. And obviously it applies to like Ecom and fucking building your own thing as well. But I think life can get like more interesting and enjoyable when you get to the point where you can like design it to fit what you're passionate about and makes money, because ultimately everyone needs to make money, and is like something you can do potentially long term. Because I had a taste of that with like the whole drop shipping shit, as I'm sure you did, like making money, traveling, etc. But then it wasn't very sustainable, and then like building brands is way harder. But I also made that work to an extent, but then also didn't make that one work because that one fucked. So yeah, like it's hard, but I think everything is hard in life, right? I'm going on a rant here, but like life is hard. Being like broke and hating your job and enjoying your weekends potentially, because that's what a lot of people do, is hard in one way. Grinding your ass off, particularly in like your 20s, and figuring out what you're good at and passionate about, and going through, in my opinion, much higher highs and lower lows than the average job. And people will disagree with that and hate on me, but it's just a fact. Entrepreneurship is higher and lower than the average life. That is also hard, but is potentially like much more financially rewarding long term. Like you have a lot more freedom potentially, like when you make it work. So yeah, I'm just like very aware of like the realities of different options in life. If someone chooses to party like their entire 20s, they're probably going to have a pretty difficult 30s. But by the same regard, if someone fucking like never leaves their computer in their entire 20s, they get to 30, maybe they made a lot of money, but they don't have any friends, they have no memories. So like I think there's an art to getting the balance right. It's what I'm saying. Agreed. And I think I've got that balance pretty spot on, at least in my opinion, for me.
That's fine. It's different for everybody. So if you're feeling like you're enjoying life and you're feeling extremely productive and happy with the progress they're making, then like it's a feeling, like it's a you thing. It's like what works for you might not work for me, might not work for, you know, your roommate. Like it's different for everybody.
Yeah exactly. What was the original question? I suppose you kind of answered it.
I think you asked like as far like it was like
area.
work-life balance, like what is your stance on it, like roughly?
Yeah, because I definitely do agree though. Like in my head it was always, even since I was like 18 years old, I always kind of said to myself like, be like retired by 30. Like I guess what I meant by retired was like fucking financially retired.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm not going to fucking sit on a beach for the next 50 years. But
yeah.
It sounds like you probably think similarly in the sense that you have an opportunity to capitalize on something that you're also passionate about, but could pay you very handsomely, you know, should you fucking get acquired, whatever. So like on that, if someone came to you today and wanted to buy the business, like you said, there's no number, but like, have you thought about that? Because obviously, particularly being with SaaS, there's a lot less. It's not like there's fucking dropshippers doing the same thing and it's 10 a penny. Granted, it's competitive, but I don't know. I think there's more like valuable IP in what you're doing than certainly most ecom stores and probably a lot of ecom brands.
So your question is, would I sell?
I don't know what the question is. I guess you said it's not about the money, but
I mean, like, it's not about the money either. Yeah, but I mean,
exactly.
There's just way more to it than that. I mean, is your question would I sell? I mean, for the right price, I guess theoretically.
Yeah. Like it's not just a passion play where like you just fucking enjoy the process.
I mean, I do enjoy it. I think like if I were to sell, which is obviously like, you know, a goal at some point, it would probably have to be for more than just price. And I mean, I say that, but like if I were looking at like an LOI that said like 10 million on it right now, like obviously like that's going to be considered, like let's be realistic. But like It's interesting you bring this up because I talked to my friend who's actually going through an acquisition right now, a 7-figure acquisition. He's younger than both of us. So like, definitely like I wanted to pick his brain on like what his thoughts on all this stuff were. And he said like, the main reason he wants to sell is not because the business, you know, isn't producing cash or isn't like, it's because he was genuinely not excited to work on it anymore. He was bored. He figured out automating pretty much all of it and hiring and delegating so that he like didn't really have to do anything. And the work that he did have to do, he didn't really like. He wasn't very passionate about what the product he was selling was. He just wasn't loving his day to day. He was bored and not motivated. And obviously, you know, the money is a factor, but I think like that was it. One of the biggest, if not the biggest factor for him making the decision that it's time to sell. So for me, it's like, I don't feel that way about what I'm building. I'm like genuinely excited. And I literally, I mean, every night I fall asleep and I'm like thinking of new ideas, and I wake up in the morning excited to like execute on them and you know, talk to the team and make a little bit of progress today. Like it genuinely excites me. So if I were to sell, I feel like I'd probably have to be at a place where I didn't feel that way anymore, and maybe I was like, maybe I felt like this is as far as I want to take the business, or like I don't know. I would have to, you know, for whatever reason, I can't really even think of what it would be, but I would have to not be as excited I am about it as I am now, and it would have to be for the right price, of course.
Yeah, interesting. I actually have a story on like that sort of topic that I don't think I've told on the podcast, which just came to mind because I'm going to tell it, then explain why I'm telling it. Because I could try and keep it short. In 2020, like, as most people know that regularly watch this, so I had my jewelry business, Midnight City, which was doing like £2.5 million run rate, like profitable. And then I also had Neon Beach. But in the midst of Neon Beach growing crazily, I was like, fuck, I need to sell this jewelry business because I was never passionate about it. And I was like, fuck, I don't give a fuck about it. Let's try and sell it. So I went down this whole process with like multiple brokers. And I had an LOI, letter of intent, for it was a low 7-figure amount, which by the way I couldn't fucking believe because the business was only 18 months old at the time.
Yeah,
and
that's not bad. That's
and
not
I was
bad.
24 at the time, and I was fucking on auto trader looking at like Lamborghini trucks and shit. I got well ahead of myself, but then I remember I actually rejected it because I got really cocky and arrogant because like both the brands are scaling. It was peak COVID. I thought I could sell it for more. All this. Anyway, fast forward like 3-4 months, and I'm like waiting to like get a better price, whatever. This is when the Neon brand starts going terribly. So like all my focus went onto that. My jewelry brand started to like tail off in scale, and then no one would fucking pay any more for it. And I ended up getting an offer for like way less, which was like less than half the original amount. And I'm like, for fuck's sake. And then because of the way I structured the businesses, when Neon got bought out, as I was explaining briefly before, it basically meant that I couldn't sell the jewelry business because of the amount of time between that deal happening and when I could have sold it as a brand asset. Anyway, the point is, firstly, I wasn't passionate about it. But secondly, just on that point, if anyone has like a fucking brand that they're not passionate about, or a dropshipping store, which is probably harder to sell, but don't make, this is like fucking gold advice, by the way. Very expensive mistake on my behalf. Don't get arrogant and think, I can get more. If you're not passionate about it and someone offers you solid amount of money, just fucking do the deal. Go through the painful due diligence, which I did, and then turn it down and just do the deal. Because I wish I'd done that. It's like, that's like one professional regret. I mean, whatever, it's like meant to happen, told me a load of shit, but I could have sold that for that amount, put it in Ethereum, and had like 20 mil right now, which I don't have. So that's like a painful mistake I made that I haven't really mentioned on the pod that was like contextual to your point. And yeah, there you go.
I'd say the key, like with that advice, like the key factor for that to be true is like you have to not be passionate about it.
Yeah, and I just wasn't.
Because if you are like, and you're maybe feeling a little arrogant, it might not be arrogance, it might be like your ambition speaking, like
conviction.
Yeah. It might be your confidence in that what you're building is actually going to be so much bigger. So there's a fine line between like ignorant arrogance and like ambitious conviction.
Yeah, I agree. I think you know in your gut if like if something is like either like A has like actually massive potential and B is like the one for you. like the business that you should work on. And that's a very intuitive thing. Like everyone's different, but I never felt that way with that business. I do with my new thing, and yeah, hopefully it will end up being like the perfect fucking love story where it's like in 10 years time I can write about the fucking business that I didn't sell, but actually we just sold this for $1 billion cash. I'm sat on a fucking 200-foot Sunseeker custom yacht. There's 5 women around me. No, I'm joking. Maybe I'm not joking, but you get the idea. Like, and it's just like looking back, that was a great thing to happen because it taught me a lot. But yeah, I definitely feel this next one is the one.
This is the one. This is the one.
I mean, I have said that before. I said that about my neon business, but looking back, there's a lot of boxes that this business ticks, which is kind of similar to your business in a way. I mean, it's very different, but subscription is the fucking way forward. I'm pretty convinced. Especially in like people talking about there's a recession coming, all this stuff. If people use your product, whether it's physical or software, and they enjoy it, that's the perfect customer.
Well, yeah,
like,
I mean,
if they stay.
The way to survive in e-commerce is, well, there's really 2 things. Really, one is retention. So obviously, like having as loyal customers as possible, really high lifetime value, which subscriptions, basically solves that problem. If you have someone paying you monthly for a product, like it solves that. But another huge part is like you still have to be able to affordably acquire customers. So you could be like, your retention could be amazing, but you still need to be affordably acquiring customers, which is like kind of like the problem that Social Snowball aims to solve. Is like paid acquisition is incredibly expensive, like so much more expensive than it was even like a few years ago. So
even 6 months ago.
Oh yeah, it's always changing. So like with Social Snowball, it's like, and obviously there's a lot of other tools that were built to like tackle this problem, but us being one of them, like turning your customers into a new marketing channel, a new customer acquisition channel is like one of the ways that you can now profitably acquire customers, because you're going to set whatever incentives, you get to choose what incentives you're paying for a new customer.
Is that your main offering? Is it, because obviously I've started using it myself. Is that the main like pitch, is turning customers into affiliates rather than just like
absolutely
influencers?
Absolutely.
Can you do those as well?
Absolutely, you could do both. But the like kind of, what Social Snowball gained a lot of momentum for when we first launched, because this is like our whole marketing angle, and it was like our flagship feature or whatever, is like turn your customers into affiliates. And really what that developed into is like turn your audience into your most efficient marketing channel. So like brands need ways to acquire new customers without letting their CAC be controlled by some algorithm that doesn't even have the same incentive as you as a brand owner. Like that's just not scalable anymore. Maybe it used to be, but it's just not anymore. So, with specifically, I mean, there's a lot of different approaches to this problem, but obviously I could speak from the experience with Social Snowball. Like with an affiliate program, you get to choose the customer acquisition cost that you're going to pay. So, you set like an incentive to pay an affiliate, you set an incentive to pay a new customer that's being referred from an affiliate. If you're not making sales with those numbers, you're not going to be losing money. You're just not going to be acquiring new customers. And then you could increase them and then see if like those higher incentives, move the needle to get people to successfully refer. So it just kind of lets you control your CAC and also acquire customers from a source that's not a paid acquisition channel, which is like obviously also very important for brands. Yeah,
very true. How many affiliates does the biggest onboarded brand have? Like roughly speaking. Like,
that's a good question.
I guess as well, like how big is the biggest brand, without telling me who the brand is, unless you can?
I mean, we have some big brands. I mean, you could look on our website. We have like some logos of some big brands. But I mean, we have one brand that signed up with us like right when we launched that still like has always done pretty high volume. They have like a few 100,000 affiliates. Like, like something like that. I mean, but since then we've had much bigger brands sign up, but they've only been on for like a month. So they might only have like a couple thousand affiliates because they're like new. But yeah, we have one brand that like installed like the week we launched and it's still a customer.
And are they still paying you 1% of revenue generated?
So I'm not sure which plan they're on, because all of our tiers changed also since we launched. So now we have our 3 tiers now are $19 a month plus 10% of affiliate revenue, $59 a month plus 3% of affiliate revenue, and then $4.99 flat with no commission fees ever. So I don't know if they've upgraded since we've iterated pricing or if they're still on one of the OG tiers. But yeah, I mean, they definitely pay us well regardless of which plan they're on.
What's the average like fee per month then across everything? It's a pretty mad model, to be fair.
I think including free users, because we had a free plan for a while, for like 6 months we had a free plan. We have like still a lot of users. I think including them, the average customer value is right around $20. Like I think a bit over $20 actually. Yeah. Including free users. If we were to exclude that cohort, which is probably what we should do when we're calculating that number, I don't know it off the top of my head. I'm assuming maybe like, you know, between 30 and 50 a month per user.
Yeah. It's, recurring is the one. I don't know why I never got into it before, because I look at a business like Athletic Greens, which is like relevant to me, but I just think, fuck, they have like one product. It's just so beautifully simple.
It is.
So beautifully simple. All right, changing topic briefly, because I feel like I always come onto this shit, and it was quite relevant because you mentioned it. Do you think, I mean, obviously for you, do you think having a girlfriend, like, do you think that changes how you approach like building the business? And I guess like I've had probably negative experiences with it. I know plenty of people have had great experiences, but like the general conversation, I guess, on this pod and like people I've spoken to has been like, you know, I think that there's maybe a misconception that when you're in the fucking trenches, you need to focus, like, you know, like have a social life later or whatever. But like, how has that been for you? Because how recent was that?
I mean, I've been dating her for a year, like about exactly a year. So she's been, I mean, even, you know, before we were dating, like I was like, like we were like talking to each other. So she's been there since the beginning of Social Snowball. So she's like seen the entire growth, which has been cool. But I mean, like it's definitely, I mean, I know some relationships aren't like this, but it's definitely been like really helpful because like obviously for me at least, and I assume this would apply to everyone, building a business is stressful. Like it's hard. And sometimes I let emotions control me a little bit. Like, you know, if I'm dealing with some employee or like, you know, I have to fire someone. Just, there's a lot of things that just happen that are, or like, you know, really stressful things like Shopify, like, you know, threatening to delist us from the app store if we don't like change this feature, like things that are scary. Sometimes I like let emotions get to me and I like, maybe I'm about to make a bad decision to the business, and she's very like helpful with like guiding me and making sure I'm like thinking clearly before I make any decisions. I mean, and she's also just extremely supportive. So like I'm assuming like with your experience with having a relationship while you're working, and I know we chatted about this before the episode was being filmed, but like your girlfriend wasn't very supportive, which obviously, you know, isn't going to be helpful. But I mean, in my case, like she really is. So, and she's also like just by chance working in a very similar field. Like she works at a marketing agency doing digital ads. So like she fully understands it. Like she could pitch it. Like she could work for Social Snowball and probably most of the, because I tell her everything. Like she knows everything. She could definitely work in Social Snowball, like in most of the roles. I mean, maybe not like product specific stuff, but like anything like sales or customer facing, like she knows it well. Like she fully understands it. So that's also like really nice to be able to talk to someone, you know, like a partner that like it would be different if she like didn't understand the space, but since she does understand it really well, like I could like tell her like specific details of like numbers and stuff, and like she fully knows what's going on, like fully has a good understanding. So it's definitely been only helpful in my scenario.
Yeah, definitely. And you just moved in together, or no?
Yeah, we just did. Yeah, here in London. Yeah, she just got a job here. Yeah.
So did you move when she got a job here, or were you going to move anyway?
No, it was when she got a job here. We were just traveling before, like, because she was staying with me in LA, but just like kind of visiting me.
Definitely a better place in LA.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion.
LA's okay.
Everyone's gonna talk shit in the comments. But
I had fun friends in LA.
I used to live with the guy that moved to Hollywood, and he fucking loves it. But it's just not for me.
Yeah, it's like not for me. It's not for me. It's not for me. I mean, Miami is like my favorite place in the U.S. for sure. But yeah, I mean, she was just staying with me in LA. We were just traveling a ton. Like we tore up Europe. We've been traveling like a crazy amount, and then you know, she graduated university and just got well, now her second job actually at this marketing agency in London, like an in-person like office job, actually in a WeWork, funny enough.
That's sick.
So yeah, we're like, let's send it.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's good. I mean, I feel like I'm definitely open to a fucking relationship if there's a girl that gets me. But I just think I'm a fucking weird cunt.
I am too, honestly. Like I
also think it's like how did you meet? Because I always discuss this shit. And I'm not like fucking, there's plenty of girls on Instagram that I can speak to or whatever. I just can't be fucked. But I just think the whole dating game these days, like in general, let alone like if you're entrepreneurial and fucking have weird niche goals and shit, it's just like, it's a strange world we live in. Like social media has fucked up a lot of just like a lot of people's like dating fucking lives and shit. It's made it so easy but so fake, and so easy but so like flippant, and like largely just like fucking hookup culture and shit, which is like fine. I'm not opposed to that, but like there's a time and a place, and it depends what you're looking for. But like I always
was
had
your question?
What was my question? Like, I guess, how did you meet?
I
always have this fucking like, one day I'll meet this perfect girl in a coffee shop or a library.
It'll happen.
She'll be in some castle.
You just have to not be looking. Like that's the thing.
100%.
Like when I met,
I'm definitely not looking, by the way. It's
when
just
I
like
met my girlfriend, like
a romantic idea.
Yeah, no, I get you. I mean, well, yeah. So I was actually on vacation in Dubai. She grew up. She's not from Dubai. She's actually from the UK, which is like why she's here working right now. But she grew up in Dubai. Like her family grew up there. Like she went to middle school and everything there. And I was just on vacation with some buddies, and we were just like having parties at our Airbnb every night. And like we knew some people in Dubai like that we were meeting up with, and they knew other people in Dubai that would like invite people over. So we were just having people over in our Airbnb. I mean, it was actually my very last night before I was flying home. She came over and we just like hit it off super well that night. Like, we were just vibing the whole night. And then, you know, I obviously had to say goodbye and then flew home the next morning, but then we just stayed in touch for months, talking a ton, like FaceTiming and everything and all that stuff. And then I was living in Miami at the time, and I was like, you got to come to Miami. Like you'll have so much fun here. Like you got to come to Miami. And then eventually she did. She flew to Miami, and then we started dating from that trip.
Sick. That's the right way to do it. Right, I want to change tack before we wrap things up shortly. We always have to touch on girls because it always fucking comes up. Yeah. People love it. Over the next year then, what is your focus? I know you've signed a lease for a year, right, in London?
Yeah.
So other than getting to know London and trying to fucking keep up with me on runs, what is your focus for Social Snowball? Like, is there a specific plan, or is it still relatively early that you're just fucking sending it and seeing what happens?
No, it's a little more organized than that. I'd say, you know, that there's a few different ways that I might take it. I'm very much considering raising venture funding. I know that I kind of maybe didn't sell it great earlier in this conversation, the whole treadmill. I know you love that. But the truth is, like, the type of business we're in is like pretty standard to raise, and that's not why I would want to do it, but for the reasons that it is standard to raise, it does make sense to. You know, for us to progress the business, it's a bit of a slow process right now, just because we have limited resources. So like we have all these features that we want to build so we can acquire these bigger brands, and we know exactly what they want because we talk to them on demo calls and everything. But to get that laundry list built with 2 full-time engineers and like 1 part-time, like, takes time. It takes a lot of time. And at the same time, like, I want to be marketing so we could be growing faster, but if I hire another engineer like I'm about to, then I can't spend that money on marketing. So it's like it's a slow process. And at the same time, through all of it, I'm not truly able to focus on like the big picture vision as much as I'd want to, because I still have to be in the weeds, picking up the tasks that fall between the cracks, like just dealing with a lot of things that I rather would not. Thankfully, the team that I have now, they are rock stars. So like they really do pull more than their weight, and they're like gems. But what I would love to do is be able to build a big team of rock stars and people that know a lot more than me and are a lot smarter than me and are very good at specific things. I want to, there's a lot of hires that I really want to make. So I am very much considering that route, but it's not, nothing is obviously set in stone. The beauty of the business right now is that, like I kind of touched on earlier, like we're bootstrapped and we could just like coast, and we're never going to like have to worry about burning capital and then raising at a down valuation because we didn't hit our MRR goal, and then like investors are, it's just like none of that like outside noise is affecting me right now, which is a blessing, honestly. But at the same time, like, what I'm building is so great and I'm so passionate about it and I believe in it so much that I want to make sure that no matter what, it gets to the whole world. And I think venture funding could be the vehicle that gets me there, but again, not necessarily. I mean, you could look at a lot of bootstrap success stories, like MailChimp is like a great example.
Yeah, fucking know.
So, I mean, I couldn't give you like a super concrete answer on that, but I definitely am only going to be like head down grinding on Social Snowball this year. Like I'm not doing this game of like having a million side projects at the same time.
Yeah,
like,
completely. That's definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
All right, final question, and it's become a cliche on this pod, but I ask it to everyone. If you could give 3 bits of advice to your younger self, I guess maybe 18-year-old self, what would they be on the spot?
Okay, so one of them for sure is like there's no right and wrong way to accomplish a certain thing. So I used to always look at like someone else who's successful and they've accomplished something I want to accomplish, and I am working towards a similar goal that they've already done. And sometimes I used to get worried if I wasn't following their exact path, because I'd be like, this is how they accomplished it and I'm doing something different. And then I realized that like there are many, many ways to accomplish the same goals, and you don't need to follow someone else's path or another, suggested path exactly. You could obviously, you should learn from what the way other people do things, but you could definitely carve your own path towards a goal. So like that was like super important for me. Geez, three pieces. You're hitting me with a lot.
You gotta go instinctual on this shit.
Yeah, let's see. I think, I mean, I kind of touched on this, but I really believe that you have to chase and make money to understand that it's not what you should be chasing. And I think if anyone's listening and they haven't like made that like first initial, and you'll know when you've made it, like if you've made that first initial like jump in cash where you like just like have a taste of freedom, like if you haven't made that yet and you're like trying to like pretend that you don't want it because you want to like be listening to what people that are maybe a little bit further in the journey are telling you and are like, oh, you shouldn't be chasing money. I really do believe like in order, if you're a person that is very money driven, there's nothing wrong with chasing it, assuming you're not doing any like shady business or screwing people over. But to chase money, to make it, and then realize that it's not what you want is like a process that I do think you have to go through. And by pretending that you don't want to be chasing it and then like delaying it, you might just be delaying it. Like that might be the result, and you might still chase it at some point, make it, and then realize that it's not what you wanted. So I think that like there's nothing wrong with having to go through that learning experience firsthand rather than just listening to it. And if you're drop shipping, I could probably think of way better advice than this, but this is just on the spot.
No, this is probably very topical for viewers.
If you're drop shipping, like it's a stepping stone, and you could really leverage it in your favor to build an unbelievable career. And there's nothing wrong with, if that career turns into working for someone as like some really cool position at some really cool startup or something. Like you don't have to be like this entrepreneur, like posting cool cars on Instagram forever. Like dropshipping is really cool because it, one, can give you access to capital that can be made relatively easily, and you could use that to do a lot of really cool things and build a lot of really cool things. And two, at least for me, like the connections that I was able to make from it are unbelievable. Like the people that I know now, the people that I respect and respect me truthfully, like it's crazy. Like it's crazy. And like that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the whole dropshipping learning experience I went through. And even though like that business itself didn't bring me what the golden nugget or whatever shiny object I was chasing, like it is like a bit of a dead end. It really can be if you use it as a stepping stone strategically to pivot into something bigger, and you use the capital that it's given you and the connections, and there's probably even more things that I'm not thinking of that it can give you. I guess like business knowledge and experience. Like you can really build an unbelievable career for yourself, but don't cling on to it too long. Maybe I clinged on to it a little bit too long. I should have probably cut it a bit earlier.
Completely agree. Solid, practical, wise advice from a very wise 23-year-old. That was an interesting episode. I learned a lot. I think everyone listening, watching probably fucking did as well. As usual, if you're watching the pod, subscribe, recommend it to a friend, all that good shit. Go buy Rainbow Dust, go sign up to fucking Social Snowball, go sign up to Triple Whale, all that good shit. And we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers for watching. Peace.